The rains, cool, warm or hot weathers, as well as the air and vegetation around any location, are very vital in determining the suitability and comfortability for human and animal habitation. So every year, the international community marks World Meteorological Day on the 23rd of March. The day showcases the essential contribution of national meteorological and hydrological services to the safety and well-being of society. The theme for this year's celebration is the ocean, our climates and weather. The day is going beyond the primary focus on the atmosphere to also include activities of the ocean and its significance. Now, experts they have continually linked a decline in freshwater volume, reduction in agricultural yields, outbreak of diseases due to heat, and flooding and erosion, among other environmental hazards, to climate change, which is becoming a major concern. On Nigeria today, the connection between the ocean and climates on human habitation is our focus. Welcome, I am Musbadan Wahab. Right, you already know, World Meteorological Day is our focus on the program, and trust me, I have the right person to talk about that. And joining me in the studio to discuss World Meteorological Day is the Director General, Nigerian Meteorological Agency, Professor Mansour Bako Matazu. You're very welcome, Director General.
Good evening, you're welcome.
I should say congratulations and happy World Meteorological Day.
Interesting, thanks so much.
All right, let's start with the theme of this year's World Meteorological Day celebration for the year, which is the ocean and climates, our climates and weather. What is the target of this theme this time around?
Well, good evening, Nigerians. The target, having the theme of this year's World Met Day, I will just start by that WMO is the United Nations scientific organization that deals with issues of weather, climate and water. And on 23rd of March for every year, 192 member countries commemorate the day, which was initially established in 1950, which came into force. The link between ocean, climate and weather is quite apt, and when you look at the atmosphere, which now give rise to the formation of cloud and subsequently rain from weather activities, derive its moisture from the ocean. And if you look at the continent, globe, Earth, that our planet, about 70% of the constituent body of the continent is water, and giving just the 30% for vegetation and the land continent. So as a result of this, there is what we determine in meteorology the coupling mechanism between the atmosphere and ocean, because the ocean provides the moisture in which the atmosphere drive its atmospheric moisture, which now give birth to formation of clouds and subsequently rain. So the relationship is very strong. The temperatures from the lands also are being absorbed by the ocean, and as well also the ocean transfer this warmness into the atmosphere. So most of our forecasting models also rely on the relationship between ocean and the land, and as a result of this we have several indicators like the El Nino Southern Oscillation, which determine the sea surface temperatures. So anything that happens in the atmosphere or eventually will end up in the sea, because rain, when it falls, it runs off in surfaces such as rivers and streams, and eventually ends up in the oceans. So this now gives rise to hydrological cycle, which now gives movements of water from the atmosphere on the land and eventually drains back into the ocean. So the relationship is quite interesting, and it's a feedback mechanism. So whatever happens to the ocean eventually ends up into the atmosphere, and which comes back as rain.
Professor, I'm not surprised. I'm talking to you, and you're talking this way. You've actually taken me into the classroom, giving me some lectures on this, and I want to agree with you. The relationship between ocean, the land, and of course the climates. Now, talking about the ocean, Nigeria is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Guinea, as we know. Now, how advantageous is this to the country?
Yeah, thank you very much. The coastal location of Nigeria stretch about 935 kilometer coastline, and this gives us a very good advantage. We have in Sahelian and Sahara Desert from the north, and a combination of coastal environment from the south. So significantly, this Atlantic Ocean serves as the source of we have air masses, just like airlines. So these air masses brings in moisture from the ocean, and as a result of this, we have influx of moisture, especially during the rainy season, which is being carried about by these air masses. And as a result of this, these air masses have what we call the sponge effect. Areas closer to the ocean will tend to have much more rains because of the proximity to the ocean. That is the source of the moisture, compared to areas far inland and to the extreme in northern parts of the country. So this relationship between the land and continent now drives what we call the local circulation of air, and which now determines the weather and climatic pattern of the country. As for Nigeria, the relationship between this dry continental air mass that comes from the ocean and the moistured air mass that come from over the Atlantic Ocean now give rise to 5 weather zones, and these 5 weather zones are the zones that traverse the country from throughout the year. It depends on the weather zone that now prevails over your area, and this helps us to monitor weather and also make focus and advise citizens of the country to plan their activities accordingly.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Prof. Now, this climate change has been having its impacts globally on countries of the world. Yes. And if I may ask you, how enormous has this been on the country, or how fair is the share of the country in this climate change?
Actually, NIMED is a very old organization. We've been existing even during the colonial region because of the importance of weather and climate. So due to the available historical data that we have dated back to 1887 in the country, so even though climate change is a global phenomena, but Nigerian Meteorological Agency has been able to establish that we have local indicators of climate change based on the analysis of this data, and one of such is the increase in temperature over the years, and another one is changing rainfall pattern. So areas that tend to have early onset of rains now do have late onset, and areas that also do have late the cessation period of the rain now tends to have early cessation. So by the time you have a combination of late onset and early cessation, that tends to shorten the growing season, and as a result of this has multiplier implication to socio-economic activities like agriculture, water resources, and which triggers also into other extreme events. Another indicator we have also identified over the years is that rainfall intensity tend to increase. Intensity is the amount of rain that falls within a given period of time. So if rain falls at higher intensity within short duration of time, this tends to generate flash floods, and this is what we've been witnessing recently in the country. Areas even that are not used to having such floods do experience flash floods. 2020 also was a very flooded year for Nigeria, and all these are a combination of indicators that shows that locally we have climate change, evidence of climate change happening locally in Nigeria, and this also is in tune with the global scenario that the climate is changing over Africa and now turns down to Nigeria as a local factor.
Right, now you have almost taken me into what I was going to ask you. Now you've talked about the change in weather condition. Now in Nigeria particularly, we're having early rain, most people, trust me, don't expect rain at this time. We're still in March. We've had it like 2 or 3 times in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory now, and other cities of the country.
Yes.
What does this mean for the environment?
Okay, if I will take you a little bit back in April, not 2nd of February this year, our Minister Senator Hadi Sirika presented to Nigeria and public our seasonal climate prediction. Initially we call it seasonal rainfall prediction, but because of the other parameters of weather that we integrate into the documents, so it becomes more elaborate, so we call it seasonal climate predictions. And in that, the summary of it is that with regards to rainfall, Nigeria stands the chance to experience normal to above normal rainfall. And component of this forecast, we made mention of what we call false onset. False onset. That means the false beginning of the rain. So these are occasional rains that come during the transition period. So for Abuja and most north central states, we are in transition between the dry season into the rainy season. And as a result of the influx of moisture, occasionally, due to the movements of the air masses and also available energy in the atmosphere, this tend to trigger some localized showers, which we have witnessed in Kaduna, parts of even southern Katsina and parts of FCT Abuja. But this is not the beginning of the rainy season. Right. In our seasonal climate prediction, we indicated dates that signifies onset. And onset means when you have available moisture, rain, that now can create or establish moisture in the soil that farmers, when they plant, the seeds will germinate. So that is when you have about 50-60% moisture. So but what we are witnessing now is a false onset, and it is the accumulation of this moisture over a long period of time that can give rise to the onset period.
So invariably you're saying your prediction is still very valid? Very valid.
For we predicted between the 1st and 20th of March that the rain will get well established in the coastal region of Nigeria, and this has come to be very true. And for the southwestern states also, the rains are getting well established because their onset extends up to early parts of April. And so the signals are very good, as we indicated to Nigerians that our forecasts are very have high skills, and we get more than 90 to get in some cases about 100% forecast precision.
Signals are very good. I think that's a very good signal, of course, to Nigerians and, of course, the farmers who are large users of this rain. Now, communities have been witnessing flooding and all of that as part of this climate change. And, of course, we have a particular part of this country, though sharing it with other countries, that's Lake Chad. That has contracted to about beyond 90% of its original size. So what do you think people should do at this time to mitigate all of these effects, impact of climate change?
Yes, you rightly indicated some of the multiplier implications of climate change, and one of it is increasing dryness. And this is what, coupled with high temperature condition, this is what has created the diminution, if I can use the word diminution, of Lake Chad. In the 1960s, Lake Chad was as big as Katsina State, covering about 23,850 kilometers square, but as at today, it's less than 10% of its original size. So this is as a result of the effect of climate change and some land use dynamics, like construction of dams upstream, which also tends to control the influx of water. And of course also the high temperature will tend to trigger high rate of evapotranspiration over the water body. So NIMED and other government MDAs, we are working in several committees and advising the government and citizens of the country of how to mitigate and adapt. Mitigation is a way of to reduce the effects, while adapting is, since atmosphere has what we call inertial conditions. So even if we stop emission at 0 level now, the level of carbon equivalent, carbon equivalent in the atmosphere is enough to continue to cause this change for the next 30-50 years. So since this has this scenario, we therefore tend to adapt. Like I will give an example. In agriculture, we have what is called climate smart agriculture, whereby farmers use our information to plan their activities, and evidence indicates that they will reduce the risks by 90% and increase their yield by more than 35%. We've been collaborating with several organizations in Federal Ministry of Agriculture, IFAD, CAPS project, and some various state governments to downscale this forecast so that farmers adapt to the changing condition. Especially our seasonal climate predictions talks about that year rainfall pattern. So that the farmer now will use, or any other user will use the forecast for that year to plan their activities, and this helps a lot in adaptation. And in farm mitigation, there are several activities being carried out by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency and Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Environment in mitigating the effects of climate change in the country.
Thanks a lot, Prof. It's World Meteorological Day, and the conversation has been around climate change and, of course, its impacts on the environment. So the Prof is still in the house. So let's quickly take a break, and we'll come back to talk more about this. Thanks a lot for sticking around. The program is still Nigeria Today on NTA News 24. We've been discussing the impact of the ocean, climate and the weather as the globe marks up World Meteorological Day. And I've been talking with the Director General, Nigerian Meteorological Agency, Professor Mansour Bako Matazu, in the studio. Prof, you've talked about your prediction still being valid and what people should still expect. But a lot of people don't get to hear all of these from the media. You say it's just a false start to the season, to the wet season, and that people, or particularly the farmers, should not go to the land yet. So how are you getting this message down to the grassroots to ensure that people know what is right to do?
One of the methods, in producing forecasts, you have 3 categories.
Yeah.
One is the producer, and then you have enablers, and of course the users, who are the citizens of the country. We in NIMED, we serve as the producers of the forecast, yeah. and therefore rely on collaborations and partnership with various media organizations and other also. In this collaboration cut across horizontal and vertical channels. The horizontal channel is ministries and agencies at the federal level, while at the vertical collaboration is at the state and local governments level. We immediately we noticed this. We issued out press release that alerting the farmers and other users that this is false on state, and you can use the period to do some land preparation activities such as land clearing, purchase of inputs and other preparatory activities. But they should use the information we provided in our forecast, which we translated into 3 major Nigerian languages, to plan their activities. So significantly we rely on media and also partnership with with state government and relevant organizations. Like NEMA is a very key stakeholder in this regard, Federal Ministry of Environment and Agriculture, which they use our forecast to sensitize public on some of the dangers of this weather phenomena. But we do have some platforms, our website, we are on social media, and also remember we also issue out forecast on the National Television Authority every day at 9:58 p.m. To just give an idea of what the next day's weather will be. And in such also this forecast, our presenters mentioned this. We'll advise that Nigerian citizens continue to listen to us and approach us. We are very open for discussion and collaboration. But we try as much as possible to get this information downscale to the user level, and also we leave this channel open so that we get feedback on the performance of the forecast too, which it helps us also to plan again.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Prof. And trust me, you can always count on the Nigerian Television Authority in your partnership to disseminate all of this information to the people. Now, we have seen situations in this country where predictions are not always very accurate. You know, we call it prediction, really. So, but when we have a situation like that, what leads to it? What happens?
Weather is a dynamic system,
right?
And because the atmosphere behave like fluid, air that moves horizontally interact also with vertical movement of motion, and so this interaction tends to create a thermodynamic mechanisms, and which makes it a bit at times difficult to predict. But thank God for the latest advancement in science and technology. We do use satellite information. We have upper air observation. We have automatic weather systems. We do have conventional weather stations, and of course we do have models that we model weather. Just like if you have a friend for 30 years, he can predict what you can do. So we do study all these parameters and mechanisms that give rise to weather activities and try to predict it very accurately. We have built this record of high precision forecast over the country, and presently I can tell you we provide daily weather forecast to Liberia and Sierra Leone from Nigeria. But this is an assistance by Nigerian government. We do even at our studio and send the forecast to these two countries, and this shows how reliable our forecast is. Even though WMO, if you make forecast and you get 60% accuracy, they call it a good forecast. Right. But most of our NIMET forecast, we get into 100% accuracy.
100%.
Yeah, last year the overall performance of our forecast was almost 98%.
That's fantastic.
Accuracy. So one other factor that now increase the precision of forecast is providing updates. It's very difficult to sit down and say this is what will happen in the next 1 year. That's the most difficult aspect in forecasting, because certain what we call forcing factors happens along the way, which can tend to now change the direction of the phenomena, the dynamism of the atmosphere. But we are given monthly forecast updates, and also we do provide some short-range forecast on our website, so for people to monitor. So as far as this is concerned, I think we're doing quite well, but we promise to do more.
Right, thanks a lot, Prof. But let me allow you to give a very brief advice to the end users of this weather forecast, particularly the farmers.
Okay, thank you so much. Please, we advise Nigerian farmers to always rely on the information we provide, especially through the agri-extension officers, which we now partner with, and get the actual onset dates for the rain, so that that will reduce the risk of replanting and other farm level loss. And for the citizens of the other citizens of the country, providing forecast is very important, and uptake of the forecast is much more important. That globally it has been agreed that for 1 naira you spend to provide focus, you are saving about 8 naira. So if you spend 1,000 to provide focus, you are saving about 8,000. If you spend $1 million, you are saving 8 million. So in terms of loss, we have seen how extreme weather event can cause a lot of damages to the society. Thank you so much.
We hope your prediction will continue to save lives in the country and of course around it.
Very well, thank
The
you.
Director General, Nigerian Meteorological Agency, Professor Mansour Bako Matazu, we really appreciate your insights and time on the show.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Nigerians. Thank you.
Right, Nigeria Today is usually live at 7:30 in the evening every weekday. On NTA News 24, you can watch these and another edition of the program on youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am Musbadan Wahab. Continue to keep your environment safe. Stay well.